Hello guys, my name's Elise. I'm a PADI dive master. Today's video is about oxygen conservation. Um, Recently went on a dive and everyone ran out of air, 20 minutes into it. It was meant to be a 50-minute dive, but this is very common, particularly with people who haven't been diving in a while or who are new to diving. And so I just wanted to give some tips on how to conserve your air, because it had been quite a while that I hadn't been diving as well, but I have learned a few ways to conserve air, so I've got 7 tips for you today. The first one, the 8-second in-out breaths. This is something that I will do as soon as we start kitting up, which is usually 20 minutes before you get to the dive site. Everyone's putting their stuff on, you're very distracted, things are heavy, you're trying to get out of people's way. It can be a little bit stressful, especially if you're not sure where everything is, you're looking for stuff, you're tripping over all the other divers. But during that time, if you can try and keep an 8-second out and in breath counted in your head as you're putting your weight belt on. Start breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just try and do that. If you can do that for the 15, 10, even the 5 minutes before you get even in the water, already your blood is going to be higher in oxygen, which is going to make you more efficient with your air. So you're starting off on a good foot. It also gets your brain relaxed because the counting, that meditative state. It also means once you get into the water, you're more likely to continue doing that air thing, which you can focus on. I usually do, especially in the beginning, and then it just becomes automatic throughout the dive. Another good thing is when you are slowing your air intake, the reason why slower breaths raises your oxygen is because if you're doing quick breaths, the lungs don't have the time to pick up the oxygen. It's just going past all those alveoli or whatever. I'm not a doctor here, but basically slower breaths, more oxygen, less air. So that's the first tip, and probably most important to consider, seeing as if you start with that, it just ripples through the rest of the dive. The next one is a couple swimming ones. So one that I've noticed, don't struggle against the current. If you're in the open ocean, which is most open water dives, there's going to be a current. Sometimes it's very strong, sometimes it's not as strong. If you're doing a drift dive, it's not as big of an issue, but it can be when you're with a group, you're trying to stay with the group, they're farther ahead, or a bit more behind, so you're trying to slow and quicken to keep relatively close with your group and your buddy, very important. And so with that, if you're going this way, if you're swimming this way, let's say, and the current is doing this, right? Then as it's going this way, you're going to want to kick with the current, and as it's going back, you're going to just chill and not do anything. Minimal movements, and then back when it goes like this, like that. Otherwise, it's like trying to swim against a riptide. It's just getting you exhausted for no reason and also getting you nowhere. So that uses up a lot of oxygen and energy, which is kind of two halves of the same coin. Another swimming thing is straight legs. It's just more efficient. None of this. This doesn't do as much, and it uses more muscles. Your legs straight, you just do that. The fins do all the work. Also arms, you don't really need to use your arms for swimming in scuba diving. It's just more hydrodynamic to keep them in, usually like this, or at your waist, this sort of deal. It also helps if you have them in, then you're always conscious of where all your gear is, your extra breather, if you've got weights in your pockets, if you've got your regulator, or your you got your dive watch here. You got all your information. You can look for your depth right away. You don't have to like fumble for it. You've always got a hold of it, so that's helpful. Also, just anything keeping your mind calm does actually use less oxygen if you are mentally and physically calm. That's a big key here. So another thing, which is kind of related to swimming, but just more physicality, is stay loose. It's just like when you're first learning how to float. If you didn't do that at a young age, the key to being able to float on the top of water is relaxed muscles. Relaxed muscles, it's just better, and better for water, flotation, and it uses less energy and oxygen as a result. What else? So keeping your correct buoyancy. I usually do this by putting air into my BCD, so it helps to start with the correct weights. Once you're already in the water, you can't really necessarily change that unless you've got someone with you that has got extra weights or who wants to take your extra weights if you've got too many. But if you have too many weights, easy fix, just add a little air to your BCD. You always want to be able to just hover, and as you go to deeper or shallower depths, you have to adjust this so that you're not struggling to try and keep down or to go back up, depending on the change in depths. And yes, one other thing, a lot of people use a lot of air during the first 2 meters at the start of the dive. So if you can start your dive out efficiently, then obviously that'll help, because if you use half your air in the first 10 minutes, then that's not gonna, it's just a ripple effect. So basically your first, 2 meters, you're trying to get into the water, there's a lot of things happening. Try and just keep calm during the initial descent. So just remember the things that you have to do at the very beginning. If you can start out knowing that everything's all right, everything's going as it should, then it also helps your mind to be more relaxed and your body to be more relaxed. Check your instruments, check your buddy before you enter the water. Make sure they check you. That way you've got peace of mind there. Readjust straps, because if you are tightening your straps before you get in the water, but once you do get in the water, everything gets a bit more loosey-goosey, and you want to just make sure make sure everything's nicely tucked in where it should be. Double check, triple check everything, just to get you sure that you got everything in place. If you've got a descent line, keep hold of that descent line and just slowly keep going down. Make sure you're equalizing. Do all the things that you're meant to be doing. And at the same time, with all that happening, you need to try and keep that 8-second in-out breath. And then you'll find once you've gotten to like 3 meters, 4 meters, then you're all good, chilled, ready to go. And you haven't used half your bottle. You've barely even left the surface, and you use half your bottle. That's a common mistake. Two-finger hold. So this is the last tip. When you do get close to, say you're at a reef or a wreck or something, you're going to be near something. You're not just going to be in the open ocean floating around with nothing around. I always wear gloves. I highly suggest gloves. There's poisonous things, there's sharp things, there's all sorts of reasons. 2 fingers, just hold on to something. That way you can stay stationary with minimal effort. Some people use like a metal rod, which is also good for ding, 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 like getting people's attention. But for stability, I find 2 fingers easiest. You can maybe add these 2 fingers if you need to hold on to a rock, if it's extra currenty. Especially if you do find yourself like, okay, I just swam a bunch, I'm starting to feel like shorter breaths. Just take a minute, let your buddy know, just stop, slowing down. I'm gonna breathe. Just chill there. Make sure your body knows that you're chilling. And then that's it. Once you feel like you're back to calm level, continue with the dive. And don't try to show off. Stay focused on yourself and make sure your buddy's okay. Then they'll make sure you're okay, and everything will be beautiful. Anyway, I hope that helped with your improvement if you're looking to improve oxygen efficiency, which is a big marker in progressing through the levels of diving. I know a lot of people go from open water all the way up to instructor in 2-3 months sometimes, and they get out of it and they forget all the little bits that you just come naturally. I mean, you're diving every single day, but when you've taken a break and you want to get back into it, that's the best thing. Always start with the 8 count breaths, and then all the other stuff you'll hopefully just remember. But that slow breath, I think, is the most important of all those tips. So hope that helped, and get tanked, go diving.